And joining me now to discuss the upcoming debate are Robin Piro, former Obama Regional Campaign Director and Democratic Strategist, and Mike Leon, NTD News contributor and Director of Policy and Strategy at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation. Robin Piro and Mike Leon, thank you both so much for joining us. Robin, I want to start with you. Tonight's presidential debate on CNN comes far earlier in the election cycle than traditionally, as in before the Labor Day weekend. What is at stake in tonight's debate?
Everything is at stake right now. As a Democrat, I'm looking at Joe Biden. He has got to be clear. He's got to be concise. He must deliver from the heart. He's got to speak from the heart tonight. I know that he's been at Camp David rehearsing for longer than most presidents do. And I don't want it to seem like it is rehearsed. I wanted him to speak from the heart and to tell us exactly what Bidenomics means.
And Mike, what do you think? Would you agree with what Robin just said, and what would you add to that?
Yeah, I think Robin's spot on, not only about President Biden, I think both of them. I think Americans right now are trying to judge, and we're all speaking to this independent base of voters right now, right? The 2% for Jill Stein, Cornel West, RFK, those voters that could potentially siphon away a victory for either of these men. You got to speak to these voters out there about your platform, your policies, how either the former administration helped or hurt you. I don't want to see backtalk from the two of them sidetracked because of the muting of the microphones. I want to hear policy discussions. I want to hear the actual crisis at the border and what's the solve for it, right? With the system being flooded and it being needed to be revamped. Like, we need to hear solutions from both of these men, because right now, Americans, 62% did not want to see this rematch. So they need to clearly outline vision and strategy for the next 4 years for each of them.
Expanding on that, Robin, polls note that undecided voters are key to this year's election. What do you see this bloc watching for in tonight's debate?
Well, I was actually surprised. I researched this prior to coming on, and right now the closest, most recent poll still shows that in the swing states, there's about 10% of undecided voters. And that is crucial because, look, 7 states in 2020 had less than 3% margin there. So, a lot is at play right now. They are absolutely looking for policy, just like my peer just said. They're looking for clear, concise policies. They're looking to see who can deliver cogent policies, who can keep up with the pace. And frankly, Americans love a good gotcha moment.
On that note, Mike, what do you think are some key issues you think this bloc is watching for? The economy, immigration, abortion, even foreign policy are some that have come up, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a Chex mix bag there of all of these things, because if you look at the exit polling from the primaries and caucuses, right, immigration was top of mind. Now, as we've gotten deeper down the trough of the Israel-Gaza war, it's the war. When you talk to younger voters like I have in different focus groups that we've done for the show and that I've been a part of for other programs, it's the war. It's the amount of money that the U.S. is spending. It's what's happening with the Israeli government and what they're committing in Gaza right now. So it depends on who you talk to and what block of voters you talk to, but we're going to over-examine it until November, right? Until we actually see some results. We're going to over-examine the African-American vote, the Latino vote, which I'm a part of, suburban women, the young voters. But the key issues are still the same. It's the economic issues. It's the price of consumer goods year over year. It's what is happening at the southern border and what's the solve for that no administration has been able to solve in over 30 plus years. And then it's, about these wars that are happening right now with Russia, Ukraine, and Israel and Gaza, and the money that the U.S. is spending in all of that. I think it's a huge mix, and people clearly want to hear a vision and strategy.
And Robin, a recent poll by NPR, PBS News, and Marist found that Biden has moved up in his standing with independent voters. What do you see the Biden campaign doing right in this regard? And what else does the campaign need to do to ensure that these voters turn out in November?
Thank you. Biden is also doing well with young voters right now, and he's doing better than expected with rural voters and elderly voters. So something's working right. What it is actually is that for once the Democratic Party is getting a clear, concise message. They're working on messaging. We've always been absolutely abysmal with messaging and have allowed Republicans to seize the narrative when it comes to messaging. But he's trying to get out there to talk about the economy. He's talking about record job growth and record low unemployment rates, things like that. But what Americans are desperate to hear from him tonight, make no mistake, are exactly what he plans to do to curb inflation, specifically things like the grocery store. I'm a single dad of 2 young kids. I know very well what I pay for groceries, and we want some answers tonight.
And Mike, on the flip side, the latest Quinnipiac poll has Trump with a slight lead over Biden nationally. That's at 49% compared to Biden's 45%. What does Trump need to do to ensure enough voters turn out for him in November?
Yeah, I think, look, the hardest thing for Donald Trump, anybody that you've ever talked to, anybody in his orbit, is getting him to stay on message and not wandering off of message, right? Like, so that's going to be one of the biggest things to watch tonight because, look, he's got his legal troubles. He still has other cases pending. We know what happened in New York and the sentencing hearing that's going to happen on July 11th. He needs to talk about, if he's hitting back at President Biden, you got to hit back at the issues that the president can't run from, which is what is happening at the border, the withdrawal in Afghanistan, the wars that are happening. He needs to give a clear solve for how he would do it. Not, this wouldn't have happened under my administration. We don't know that. That's a hypothetical. You need to explain to us what's the solve for getting out. It's similar to the COVID crisis. He didn't handle that from a crisis management perspective properly. And that's what led a lot of independent voters to leave him in 2020, specifically the moderate ones that were in the Republican camp started voting for President Biden because Biden was more clearer on the message and the solve. And that's what Trump needs to do tonight if he truly wants to win this debate.
Robin Piro and Mike Leon, thank you both so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Thank you.